Hi, I'm Ridge Schuyler, founder of Network to Work at Piedmont Virginia Community College. In this short video, I will take you on a tour of a technology platform we developed here at PVCC to address the challenge that there are just too many families in our region and in the Commonwealth who do not earn enough money to pay for the essentials of life: food, housing, clothing, and utilities, and the costs associated with working, primarily childcare and transportation. The framework we've built to address this challenge brings together the three key networks that are essential for creating pathways to jobs and careers that pay family-sustaining wages: employers, resource providers, and a creative system of job seeker recruitment that leverages neighborhood-based connectors, those people in the community who just know everybody, who others turn to for information and advice, to match job seekers to jobs and supports. These three networks that make up Network to Work, employer, provider, and job seeker, are created and sustained by human relationships, but those relationships can be coordinated and amplified through an innovative technology platform that we built. Let's get started on our tour to show you how it works. It all begins with a job. We talk to employers who have jobs that pay $25,000 to $30,000 a year, that don't require a college degree, and that can lead to careers. The real-time job information is available on the smartphones of our neighborhood-based connectors, who look at the jobs and think, who do I know that would be good at that? They then select a job that they think would be a good match for the job seeker, and the information on their smartphone will give them detailed information about that job. It shows a short video often about what the job looks like, when the next training dates might be for the skills that are required for that job. It also shows the requirements, responsibilities, and skills needed to perform the job well. It also lists the employer's greatest frustrations in finding people for those jobs, so that the connector can think, who do I know that would be a good match, and overcome those frustrations. If they're talking to a job seeker who wants that job, the connector then starts the job track. The job track starts with some pre-qualification questions selected by employers to make sure before the process begins that job seeker could actually qualify for that job. If they can't, there's no sense in having them travel the pathway only to find out at the end that they don't qualify. But if they can answer yes to those questions, the connector then can add that seeker to the platform, creating a profile that includes their name, address, email address, phone number, so that we can get back in touch with them. Once the profile is created, the connector then goes through a series of questions with that job seeker that are tied to eligibility criteria of providers who can help address challenges. As you can see, the questions are dynamic. So if you have kids, it'll ask you more questions about your parenting. If you don't have kids, it won't ask you any more questions about childcare, and we'll go on to the next thing. Kind of like TurboTax works. The technology platform leads the job seeker through those questions, and then at the end, the connector hits submit, and by doing that, it shows a series of matches for that job seeker to providers who can help them address barriers that might prevent them from moving from where they are to the job they're seeking. It starts with information about enrollment so that the job seeker can understand how to enroll in a Network to Work program. It also contains the preliminary pathway of matches that the questions have connected that job seeker with based on the tool. The next step for that job seeker is to then contact an enrollment specialist who can help that job seeker enroll in a Network to Work program. That enrollment specialist talks to the job seeker and charts a pathway from where they are to the job that pays the family-sustaining wage. The enrollment specialist gets a roster of all the folks who've been connected to the program and can look at the preliminary provider matches on their computer. And they can mark the job seeker as on track for enrollment if they've showed up for the enrollment appointment, so that part of the process is underway. The enrollment specialist can also review the preliminary provider matches. They can assign a date by which that job seeker needs to connect with that provider to keep them on track for the job that they're pursuing. Those dates are then included on the pathway that the job seeker gets on their own smartphone and that a navigator gets on their smartphone to keep that job seeker moving forward. In addition, the enrollment specialist can add additional providers to the pathway for that job seeker if something has come up during enrollment that indicates that there is another provider who may be needed on that job seeker's pathway. Once all of the providers are listed, the enrollment specialist marks the pathway as reviewed, and that information, that pathway, is then conveyed to the smartphone of the job seeker and their navigator. As you can see here, the 3 providers are listed. The navigator and the job seeker can then track the pathway for that job seeker on their smartphones. And the job seeker and navigator can get notifications from the tool that lets them know they've got appointments coming up within the next week, or if they have missed an appointment, they'll get a notification that they are past due to meet with a provider. This keeps the job seeker moving along the pathway so they can get all of the resources they need in order to get the job that they're seeking. As you can see, the navigator has a roster of the folks they are navigating, and they can see their status along the pathway. So you can see here that not all of the providers have been connected with, and in fact, they're past due to see one of the providers. In addition, by pressing one of the arrows on the technology, the job seeker and the navigator can see the instructions for connecting with that provider so that it's handy for them to be able to connect with the provider, and they can see and mark their progress along their pathway. When they are past due, there is a notification that is sent that encourages that job seeker to connect with that provider so they can stay on track. When the job seeker shows up at the provider has on their computer a roster of all of the job seekers who have been referred to them for the resource that has been identified through the tool. And using the tool, the provider can mark the status of that job seeker. The provider can easily set the status. Statuses include in process and on track. The tool also allows the provider to send comments back to the provider network coordinator if something has come up during the appointment that the provider network coordinator needs to know. In process means that the job seeker showed up but didn't complete the referral because maybe they were missing some information. But if they got there and everything is on track, they can be set as on track by the provider, and that information then is conveyed to the job seeker and the navigator to show that the job seeker is making progress along the pathway, which is very important in order to keep people moving. The job seeker's pathway now has been updated by that provider, and the status bar is now blue, showing that they are on track for all the providers that they have been assigned to, which lets them know that progress is being made. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of the Into Work platform, and I certainly appreciate your attention. Thanks so much.